Welcome everybody. Today we'll be talking about registration. So let's get started. First, we're going to find the patient option in our menu bar and we're going to select it. Then we're going to go to patient maintenance and then we're going to find the patient registration wizard. And this gives us a registration pop-up. Now in this pop-up we have the search where we put the patient's name or TRN. And we have the date of birth. We also have a search button, and down here we have a select button, a close button, and a not found button. We'll talk more about those in a bit. If a patient is found, they'll show up in this section here. If a patient is not found, they'll also show up in this section here. Now let's type in a patient's name. Let's just type in Gary Green. Gary was born on the 19th of March 1990. Now what I want you to notice is that on date of birth there's a drop down that says on, during, or approximate age. On means that Gary knows his exact date of birth. During means that he knows the month and the year, but is not sure of the exact date. And approximate age means that he looks to be a particular age, but we're not 100% sure. Patients can be searched for with either of these criteria. But in this case, we'll use Gary's date of birth. I'm going to select search, and a message comes up here on my screen that says no patient was found. This means that SystmOne has searched not just your hospital, but any other hospital that has the same EHR to see if Gary exists anywhere else. If Gary did exist, his name would have shown up here. But Gary is brand new to the system, so we're going to go ahead and say that he was not found. Now we have a patient registration form. Here's where we fill out Gary's information. The mandatory fields are his first name, his surname, his gender, which must be male or female, home phone, address, and relationships. We have some additional fields on the right hand side, but besides marital status, the rest are not mandatory. So let's fill out his gender, which is male. Give him a pet name, so maybe he's known as Key. His phone number is 707-8590, and now we want to give him an address. To put him an address, we use this green stamp here. This green stamp allows us to add his address. We're going to get a pop-up and we can decide what type of address to add. I'm going to choose his home address, where I'm going to add his house name, which might be Portmore Pines. He might be located on 15 Portmore Road in the parish of St. Catherine and the community of Angels. Then I can select OK. Gary's address shows here. If I wanted to delete it, I can just select the red trash can. Next, we move on to Gary's relationships. Here's where we can record his next of kin, but we can also record any other relationship as well. So we're going to select this icon with the arrow, and his next of kin is his wife. We have a list of possible options, but we can actually use the search bar to filter them down to wife. I'm going to select OK. And I have to decide whether or not the wife is a patient already, if she's a staff member, or if she falls under another category. 9 times out of 10, you'll be selecting the fourth option, which is someone else, a textual relationship. Then we'll select OK, and we get a form where we can fill out the next of kin details. We can talk about her role, whether have a personal relationship or she's his guardian or proxy, the order in which you should contact her in case you have more than one relative, and any relevant comments. She can have multiple roles in his care. She can be his next of kin, she can be his finance representative, his advocate, his principal carer, etc. Then we have the person details, where we can put her name, her surname, and any pet name as well. We also can put her sex. We can put her contact information, including her phone number and her address. So I'm going to fill this in quickly. That order is first. Her title is Mrs. Her first name is Yannick Brown Green. The sex is female. Her pet name is Iki. Her organization, she has none, but her house name is Portmore Pines. Her road is 5 Portmore Drive. Her parish is St. Catherine. Her contact number is telephone, and her telephone number is 870-876-908-7890. Then we can select OK, and her details show here below. We can delete this if we need to, or edit it. Now we have everything that we need to fill out filled, so we can click OK and move on. The next step in registration is the system wants to know if this patient is referred to any particular service. If they are, we can fill out this referral form here. The mandatory fields are the referral source, who they're referred to, as well as the waiting list. So let's cover them one by one. In the referral source, we can select whether or not they were referred by a primary care doctor or themselves. I'll select primary care. We can say who they were referred to, what specialty. I'm going to select internal medicine. And we can choose a waiting list. We choose the waiting list by selecting this icon here. Upon selection, we can see that there's a list type. Now we know at this point that there are two types of waiting lists, outpatient and inpatient. Gary is looking to get an appointment, so he's going to be on the outpatient waiting list. Here now we can pick the consultant. In this case, I'm going to pick medicine. We have a generic consultant for now, but your names are also present. And we can pick a waiting list below. Bear in mind that these fields are all mandatory. There's some other form fields, but we don't have to fill them out. We can say whether they're coming for a first appointment or a follow-up appointment. If you want to book the appointment now, we can decide to leave these options ticked. If not, we can untick that option. I'm going to select OK, and as you can see, there's now an option ticked here that asks us to book the appointment when the patient is saved. For now, I'm going to untick it because we've covered appointments. I'm going to select OK, and now I get a record sharing notice that you may already be familiar with. This notice allows a patient to give permission to share their information across all institutions that have SystmOne, or to not give that permission. It is indicated by selecting yes or no on either of these options here. For now, we're just going to cancel for the purposes of training. Now the patient is retrieved. We see his name in the right upper hand corner, and we're in his patient record. And now we've successfully registered a new patient on SystmOne. Thanks for watching. Now let us cover registering a patient that SystmOne already knows. So we're going to go to our patient menu yet again. Go to our registration wizard by going to patient maintenance and then selecting patient registration wizard. Here we have our patient registration window, and we're going to put in the patient's name, which is Tess Blake. Tess Blake isn't sure when they were born, but their approximate age is around 30 years old. When we search for Tess Blake, we see that her name comes up with a date of birth and female gender. We can confirm that this is a patient's identity, and if so, we can select the patient. We immediately get our record sharing notice, which we're going to cancel out of, and we go to the form for patient registration. Here we are confirming the patient details to make sure that nothing has changed. If you look at her addresses section, you can see that she's actually from Clarendon. So it's likely that this patient was first registered on SystmOne in Maypen. She has no relationships though, so maybe we should add one. So let's just add her brother as her next of kin here. We're going to fill out some information, and we have our next of kin. Then we're going to select OK, and we need to record our incoming referral. So we do have to pick our referral source, our specialty, and our waiting list, which we have gone through before. After that, we can click OK, select OK, and we now have the patient available to us in our system at Spanish Town Hospital. Now, if we look in our tab journal, we can see on the 13th of March that she actually disagreed with her record being shared with any other organization. So that means that we can't see whatever happened at Maypen Hospital, but if she had agreed, we could.